There was 202 mass shootings in the United States so far this year. And you read the list, and last year we opened January with welcoming in a mass shooting in Milwaukee, then a mass shooting in Dumas, Arkansas, then a mass shooting in Sacramento, then a mass shooting in Brooklyn, then a mass shooting in Milwaukee. And you try to digest this, as an American, you read about these things and you think, I feel so bad for those communities, and you try to have empathy, and you try to imagine their pain. But then May 14th happened, and suddenly you realized all the empathy you thought you had for all those other communities, it was an illusion, because the grief and the feeling of helplessness is so compounded, when it's a mile and a half from your house. I was doing yard work in the backyard. I'd been to some community events, and there was a lot of helicopters buzzing overhead, and we don't have a lot of helicopters in Buffalo, and I just couldn't imagine why there would be helicopters. But you just don't think these things can happen to you. It's when tragedy comes to your town, and you don't know what to do with it. And we passed laws after, we passed regulations after, as I'm sure the people in all those other communities who suffered these profound tragedies do. But on my cynical side, I wonder if those really have impacts. And you go through all these shootings and you think, well, let's look at what brought this person to that, right? That's what the press always wants to find out. What brought this person to it? We can never figure it out. But I've sort of gone off this looking into the hearts of these shooters, and instead, I think we have to look into the hearts, not of Americans, but maybe into America's heart. Why is it that after this happened in Buffalo, you would think this can never happen anywhere else again? But before the month was over, it had happened. And the profound grief that we suffered, you realize, is being suffered all over the United States of America. And this goes to the American heart, right? We're a couple miles from the Canadian border. They don't suffer mass shootings like we suffer mass shootings. I have a daughter who lives in Japan. They have a handful of gun deaths a year. What is it with us that makes us behave so savagely to ourselves? I don't have an answer. Everyone who's spoken has spoken so eloquently of it. I have no answers, but I know that 10 people were murdered in Buffalo. And you can't think about it without crying. And you think about the lives lost, and then the suffering of each and every one of their family members. And then the ripple goes out once more to their cousins, aunts, nephews, friends. The ripple goes out once more. And then you think about the people who just went to work at Tops that day. Their lives are never going to be the same. No physical harm came to them. How do you go on living after seeing that? And then the EMTs who have to come as part of their job, the firefighters, the police officers, the construction workers, people who had to clean up. It's the ripple of pain is so immense. And I know that's a ripple that we feel so profoundly and so deeply in our hearts as Buffalonians. But then you look at 2023, 202 other communities have experienced what we experienced. We don't want anyone to experience anything like this again. I wish I had an answer for you, but I think the heart lies somewhere in the heart of America.